less bad last week than the other. Like that's basically what it came down to. And the NFL has seen a lot of that, and more teams are at or sub 500, I think, this late in the season than in a long, long time, if ever before, because teams are just losing a lot. Now, you do have some good teams, but it's just, even there, the good teams lose games where you're like, what the heck was that? Which, again, that's what you want the supposedly bad teams to be able to compete with good teams. Like, you want it to be raised up, but that's not always the case. Like, some of the games last week were almost unwatchable. Like the Monday night game, the Bengals in Houston was terrible
10-6.
Terrible game. And then you followed up on Thursday night football with Titans Jaguars. Like, are you serious? Like, what? Who at what point in time? Now, on the other hand, you know what? I was going to say, who at what point in time did they think that was a good idea? However, let's think about it this way. First of all, Jacksonville.
They haven't had this many wins this late in the year in a long
climbing
time.
back in that division. And two, every team has to play on a Thursday, so this is a good way to kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
You know, we're going to put Tennessee and Jacksonville on the same week. We'll take the hit that week, and then we'll just
when they know they're going to rebound the next week.
We'll move on from there, right?
It's
because
Thanksgiving.
next week, right? And I don't think NFL Network has any games. I think that night game is NBC now. I think it used to be NFL Network. I think it's NBC. I don't know that for sure, but anyway, they'll get plenty of Thursday night ratings next week.
Patriots Broncos, that's Sunday.
That's Sunday, yeah. So they're probably at the top here. So Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Yeah, it is NBC. Yeah. Bears Packers, which crazily now, has
that is a big game.
I mean,
that's a big game.
Well, I mean, it depends what ends up happening with Chicago today. I don't expect them to come back and beat the Broncos as the fourth quarter is about to end and they're down by 8 and don't have the ball. But
it'll be tough.
It'll be a little difficult for them to do that. But even at 4-6, like, you beat the Packers.
Right. Well, the Packers are 6-3 right now and have lost 3 in a row. They were 6-0 and lost 3 in a row.
And they play the Vikings, so they could be 6-4 entering that game.
Right.
So a win and you're one game back of the Packers. Now, that doesn't mean if they lose the Vikings, obviously the Vikings have a 2-game lead in the division, which I would say isn't that crazy.
Anyway,
but
all of a sudden the Bears, all of a sudden the Bears look like they're not as bad as they looked at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden the Packers would look like they're a lot worse than they were at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Now, like you said, there are games today that are kind of play out. The Bears are probably going to be 4-6, and the Packers have a shot.
They could
be
7-3, right?
So, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But that's for next week. This week, real quick, kind of mentioned it already. The Thursday night game, there was nothing really to see. Jacksonville is progressing. They still have some needs there, but I think if they continue this growth, I think the coaching staff will be around again because there's appears to be some growth. Now they need to finish the season out strong. If they end with 4, if they were to lose out and finish with 4 wins, that's not going to take place. But if they can get to 6 or 7 wins, maybe, then that would be huge for this team.
Yeah,
I don't know that they can get.
I don't want to read too much into it because they beat Tennessee. It's not as though Tennessee is that great of a team.
Right.
But they have an easy schedule.
Right.
I mean, nothing's too difficult left.
No, they play Tennessee again.
They host San Diego, who's bad this year.
At 1 o'clock on the East Coast.
They play at Tennessee.
Right. So those are 2 games that I would consider toss-up games. So they could win both those.
I'm not sure I'd say any of those aren't a toss-up unless Houston all of a sudden is incredible and world beaters as they're kind of on a hot streak.
The hardest game they have left, you could argue, is Houston. Now, it may be Indianapolis like that.
I think you can make a case for any of the last 3 because when New Orleans is on and it's in New Orleans, that's a tough game. Now, Atlanta appears to be the better team, but they're on the road. Atlanta plays so much better at home. Right. And, Jacksonville or Houston is the last game of the season. Right. I mean, I'm sure Jacksonville won't be favored in a majority of them.
I think they could. It's not unreasonable to think that they would win 2 of those last 6 games and maybe a third. Now they could lose all those games. I honestly
I could easily see them win 2 or 3 of those.
Right. So if they get to 6 or 7 wins, that
They could
That's
honestly
a big step in the right direction.
They could go 4-2 in those last 6.
Yeah, and finish way above the Eagles.
Something to think about. So yeah, the Jaguars beat the Titans Thursday night, 19-13. All right, some of the action going on right now. A lot of it is winding down. We're in late fourth quarter, I believe, in every game. But some of the higher scoring games have about 8 minutes to go. So I think the closest one to finishing, there's 3 at the 2-minute warning. One of them looks like it'll be over, and we already kind of mentioned it. Chicago hosting Denver today. Denver's up 17-9, but they have the ball with 2 minutes to play. Although it is fourth down. It is fourth down, and Chicago should have decent field position.
Where's Devin Hester?
So in Atlanta. So that game's not over, but it right now it looks like it'll be a Denver win. Denver would move to 8-2. Chicago would drop to 4-6. Then the other 2 games are a little bit closer, both at the 2-minute warning. In Atlanta, Indianapolis and the Falcons are tied at 21-21. The Colts have the ball in Atlanta territory, but not even in field goal range yet. Although it is Adam Vinatieri. Just changed. They're closer.
In the field goal range.
So looks like the Colts are setting up a potential game-winning Vinatieri field goal in his 300th game played in the NFL. The Raiders are in Detroit. They're losing by 5. Detroit has the ball deep in Oakland territory. If the Lions can get a field goal, they'll make it a touchdown plus a 2-point conversion game. So the Lions are up 18-13 with 2 minutes to play in that one. And like I said, some of the other ones, 2 of the other 3 left are high-scoring games. Tampa Bay is all over your Eagles, 38-14. Jameis Winston has 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers, and the Eagles they collapsed in the second quarter, and they haven't been able to do anything on offense the whole second half. I wouldn't say it's completely on Sanchez, but it's not looking good for Philadelphia. And you brought it up, and we might as well talk about it.
Yeah.
Does Chip Kelly survive? I'm not even going to say this season, because if things go like this, he's not going to. But
no,
they lose this bad to Tampa Bay, who last year owned the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
And they play on a short week.
They play on a short week at Detroit, who's starting to show a little bit of life. They haven't gotten too many in the win column, but sometimes that's very deceiving. Right. If they go to Detroit on Thanksgiving and lose, does Chip Kelly make the flight back to Philly?
I don't know, because here's the thing. Well, when it first came out, I thought Chip Kelly to USC, there's no way it's happening. And I still don't know that it's going to happen. But I think Chip could be looking to get out. It's so hard to read those guys anyway. By those guys, I mean NFL coaches and big-time college coaches. However, I think he's got to look at it and be like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, he can go. If he were to take the USC job, all of a sudden, UCLA had looked like they were emerging, but then had some setbacks this year. Just didn't perform like they were supposed to this year. But if he goes to USC, he's probably going to still win the recruiting battles over UCLA and Cal, and probably Oregon, who's turned it around after a rough start to the season. But now that would be interesting going head to head against Oregon. But he knows how to recruit Pac-12. He's in LA. They're going to get professional teams in LA, most likely. So you don't know how that's going to turn out. But same time, like maybe it's not USC. Maybe it's LSU.
Texas.
If they lose or see, I think Charlie Strong will survive. I don't know though. New AD, who knows? But anyway, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. I don't know that he gets fired this year. I don't know that he's the coach of the Eagles next year. You know what I mean? Like now, if they get
they got a field goal.
Yeah, good way to go.
Why would you not go for the touchdown there?
Well, because now we're only down 3 touchdowns.
I guess. All right. So the Eagles keep the field goal. They're down by 21 now.
We preach it all the time. You have to be patient. And while I still think, I don't know. I think they should be patient and give it one more year. I really can't defend it anymore. If somebody wants to be like, no, we need to make the change because it's the NFL and we need to win now. I really. What did we talk about with the Jags? The Jags aren't lighting the world on fire. They're showing improvement, though, right?
Right.
Tennessee is not good, but even though they only have 2 wins, I think they ended last year with 2 wins. I'd say they're better this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
Oakland improved. Teams that are historically bad teams
are getting
better. And the Eagles, who won 10 games each of the last 2 seasons, are significantly worse.
Yeah, and
in a terrible division.
And look at the moves
division
that Chip Kelly made.
Right.
Like, those are all coming into question now. There's no long-term answer at quarterback yet.
And even the other stuff. Like, look at not drafting a single lineman. Drafting, I think, 1 lineman the last 2 years, or something like that. And your offensive line is one of the worst in professional football. Like, what? That's on you, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, you were the one that made that decision.
I look at it, I always say, in college, I want to see a guy get at least 4 years, because I think you need to get your recruiting classes in there to be able to run it. In the NFL, I want to say a full 3, which this is Chip Kelly's full 3. But, they wanted they didn't make a big deal about it, but everyone else kind of did. He wasn't working with his guys, and he showed that this year he wanted to get his guys in. So you could be an argument, well, he needs another year to figure out what he wants to do. Right. You know what? You want to give him another year? I'm not an Eagles fan.
Right. So you're like, go ahead, be terrible another year.
I mean, but it doesn't affect me either. It's not a direct rivalry.
But here's the thing. Like, if they were losing games 38-31, like 30... if the offense was scoring and they just couldn't stop people, I'd be like, all right, well, they need to adjust on defense. But, hey, Chip's side of the ball is working. But it's not. It's not. Like, now, who knows? What are they going to do at quarterback? What are they going to do? I don't think Foles was the answer. I was mad that they gave up stuff to take on Sam Bradford. Like, what was that about? Sam Bradford, like, the Rams didn't want him.
Right.
But anyway, now Nick Foles has proven that he's not the answer because he's out in St. Louis. And I read an article this week about how St. Louis would have cut him if they can, but they can't because the way his contract is structured, they still owe him essentially all of his money, like, for the next 2 years. Like, and they can't get rid of him. So they may end up eating it anyway, but, like, they owe him all of that money. Or essentially all of that money, a lot. So Nick Foles wasn't the answer, but you won 10 games with Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez, and now you have Sam Bradford, and you've won 4. The defense just gave up 38 points, and they have the ball again, which Eagles just had the ball, so another turnover probably.
Well, they kicked the field goal.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it's just Doug Martin ran for like 1,000 yards today. Like, I don't know. The Eagles they're not that good. Like, that's what it comes down to. They're not that good.
Well, here's the thing. You lose to Detroit next week. You have a guaranteed loss.
Right. So they're going to be 4-7 today. No, 4-6 today.
4-6.
4-6 today.
If they lose next week.
If they lose, they're 4-7. Then they go to Gillette Stadium. Right. 4-8.
That's 4-8.
Then you have Buffalo
3 straight home games
coming in. But I think Buffalo's better, but Buffalo's not lighting the world on fire.
None of those are guaranteed wins or losses. Those are toss-ups.
But they're playing better than the Eagles. Same with Arizona, not lighting the world on fire like they did early in the season, but better than the Eagles. But here you go into this one too. Washington is playing better now. They played good for a quarter.
The wheels
today.
fell off a little bit in Carolina today.
Right. They played really good for a quarter, and everybody's like, "Oh man, like, are they putting it together?" No, they're not. Actually, and part of that's Carolina. Like, Carolina hasn't.
They're undefeated.
Lost yet. Yeah, they're good. And then they have the Giants again, the only division game they won so far this year. So, they beat Dallas the second time. But they're not good. Like, that's all I have to say. And as crazy as it is, the rest of the league, the rest of the division is so terrible that they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. And I keep saying, like, that's the tough part. That's tough. If there was somebody in our division sitting at 9-2, then you're just like, all right, season's over. Like, season is over. Now it's dragging out the frustration because you're like, man, even at 4-6, you're like, if they could put it together here,
because
and they get to 8 or 9 wins, they could win the division.
The Giants are on a bye, and they're 5-5. So you're even after this loss today, you're just 1 game back.
Right. And you beat them the first time,
right?
You know,
now you got the rubber match at the last game of the season, but which could decide the division title, which is crazy to think. you could lose the next 2 weeks, and that game could still decide the division title.
Yeah. Like
it's 7-9. I'm telling you, NFC East champ, 7-9.
Here's the thing. Are you happy about a 7-9 playoff team? Yes, because you make the playoffs. You made the playoffs, you have a shot. And here's the thing: if they make it, well, no,
I'm happy because it's the butt of the joke. Like that's just the best.
So
7-9 playoff teams are 7-9
playoff team that's hosting a playoff game.
I know. See that, and that'll
I love
up
it.
a can of worms.
You won the division. You won the
division. Who the
division.
heck cares? It's a crappy division.
Well, maybe you played in a crappy division, and that's why you won so many games. No, then you would have won the division. So I guess there's somebody better. I don't know. Division winners should host playoff games. So book it. Eagles playoff game.
Buy your tickets now, folks.
Yeah. All right. So send me a check.
While just discussing the disaster that are the Eagles, the Raiders and Lions game went final. Detroit got the win there. So now Detroit, they're 3-7, only one game back of you, and they host you in a short week on Thanksgiving when they generally play better.
Right.
I think in the long term, looking at Detroit as a whole, they're a crappy team. But I would think that their winning percentage on Thanksgiving is better than their winning percentage across all their seasons. So
and
it's a tradition. And
I wish the Eagles weren't there because now everyone's just going to see how bad they are.
Yep,
but whatever.
That would be national audience right there for that one. Mark Sanchez against Matt Stafford. The Colts-Falcons game is almost over. Atlanta has the ball with 5 seconds to play, but they're on their own 36. So you're going to Hail Mary
a little bit out of Matt Bryant's range.
Yeah. He did miss a field goal earlier.
Right. And Matt Ryan threw a pick six that I don't want to say cost them the game, but it tied the game, and then they gave up a field goal.
Right.
But Atlanta's about to lose to go to 6-4. They started out hot, and now they're at 6-4.
Were they 6-0?
I think they were. I think they might have been 5-0. Okay. I think they went to 5-0.
Okay.
But it could be. I don't know because they had the bye in there. It got weird. But if you look at that, I mean, the Panthers are about to go to 10-0. So they're going to be 4 games behind the Panthers.
The Panthers should clinch that division the first week in December, I think. If they win. If they go 12-0, they're going to clinch that division.
Yeah. Well, and who's Atlanta play next week?
It's a good question. Maybe it's Carolina.
Oh, man.
Wait,
no, they have the bye. Wait.
No, they're down here.
Oh, sorry.
Minnesota.
Yeah, so that's not a.
They play game. Carolina in weeks 14 and 16.
Carolina might have, but look at that. Carolina might have the division clinched before they played one of the teams in their division.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's wow. Let's see who Carolina has the next couple weeks. Dallas and the Saints, both on the road.
Right. So that's tough. So is that
Thanksgiving?
No, sorry,
that's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving game. That's a cool game. I say that because
Romo's back. They're gonna beat my Dolphins today, which is just pathetic.
You know what's gonna happen? Dallas is gonna win the NFC East. Like it's gonna happen.
That would be crazy.
By crazy, if you mean awful. Yes.
I mean, it's awesome. Rams-Ravens are tied at 13. The Rams, a couple weeks ago, people were like, oh, they're a team trending up. Then they lost last week to the Bears, and now they're tied with the Ravens. Although they do have the ball in Baltimore territory, so they're setting up possibly a game-winning field goal attempt by Greg Zuerlein. So we'll see what happens there. Buccaneers scored again. I only hope that it was Mike Evans.
And they have the ball at the Eagles 15.
No, I'm pretty sure they just scored.
Oh.
I guess I should have just clicked on the game.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, so they put up 45. Oh, it was a pick six. Man, I should have picked up the Bucs defense.
So glad I'm not watching that game because it's probably half empty, and the people that are there, I'm sure they're being nice and polite to Chip.
Oh, they were nice and polite last week, too, and they lost by a point. All right, so let's look at Tampa Bay, though, because they're an interesting team. So they're demolishing Philadelphia right now. They just beat Dallas last week. They lost to the Giants the week before that. They beat the Falcons. Look at that. And they lost to the Washington by a point.
Yeah.
By a point.
And they were up 24-0 on Washington.
Right. They beat the Saints this year. That drubbing by Tennessee in week 1 is just odd. But you can see Tennessee's gotten better. Tampa Bay's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Like if they played now, I think the tables would be turned. I think that would be opposite. I think Tampa Bay beats them by 3. 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see them beaten by 20.
I think I wasn't necessarily sold on him or like against him. Like, I didn't know what to think of him when it came out in the draft. But Jameis Winston is having a really good rookie year.
Yeah.
Not like Andrew Luck, but the team situation is a little different too. But like, he's having a really good year, and they're turning things around, and he's having a career day today.
He is, that's for sure. I'm interested to see. Tampa Bay has a shot to make the playoffs. And they actually control their destiny because of their remaining schedule. Now
the only team that I would say is definitely better than them right now at this point in the season in their division is the Panthers. I'd say they're better, or at least it's a toss-up with the Saints, and it's a toss-up with Atlanta at this point.
Atlanta's going to drop to 6-4. Green Bay's pending. Washington's going to drop to 4-6 unless that game went final, and it already did. No, it did not go final yet. So they're going to be 4-6. Tampa Bay's going to be 5-5. Tampa Bay will be one spot out of a wild card playoff spot. Yeah. And their schedule is not too difficult. Now, it's not easy, I'd say, but it's not difficult. I think Tampa Bay, they have to go to Indy before hosting Atlanta and New Orleans, two teams that they're fighting for playoff positioning. St. Louis and Chicago as well.
Right.
And now they played Carolina last week, but Carolina's probably not going to be playing for anything.
Carolina could have the 1 seed locked up by then.
They could possibly be chasing perfection, and if they want to do that, there's a possibility.
How insane would it be if the NFC and the AFC both have a team go 16-0?
That would be crazy.
And then they lose and don't make the Super Bowl, and they have other teams.
Ooh, so the Bears did score against Denver, but didn't score on the 2-point conversion. So Denver wins over the Bears in Chicago. They 17-15. Not setting the world on fire, but the defense came back and responded a little bit. So I think the Broncos are 8-2 now, where the Bears dropped to 4-6. The Colts did beat the Falcons in Atlanta. Late Vinatieri field goal in his 300th game in the NFL. Wins it for Indianapolis. They keep pace with Houston, who is currently up by a touchdown on the Jets, but the Jets have the ball with 2 minutes to play. But they do have they're not even at midfield yet, so there's some distance for them to go. The Panthers are about to wrap up 10-0. They just gave the ball back to the Redskins, but they're down by 4 touchdowns with 16 seconds to play.
Right. Yeah. I think
it looks like they took a safety on purpose.
They probably ran out the back of the end zone thing. And which in a blowout, although you don't get your punter hurt, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And the Dolphins lost to the Cowboys. Awesome. This is the story of football for me right now with Miami, because
you love sports.
I just hate it so much. They're just so terrible.
By the way, with the Eagles keeping pace today, no Philadelphia sports team has won a game at home this month. Think about that.
That's crazy.
The Eagles haven't won a home game this month. The Flyers haven't won a home game this month, and the Sixers haven't won a game.
Yeah, in general, it doesn't matter where it was.
Not just this month, not just at home, just in general, haven't won a game.
So there's
all right though.
There's an early game tied. Rams-Ravens 13-all. Ravens with the ball in St. Louis territory. So now wasn't the Rams just getting ready to kick a go-ahead touchdown with Greg Zuerlein, and now field goal with Greg Zuerlein? Now the Ravens have it with Justin Tucker.
Maybe missed, and they had good field goal position.
And then the other game, like we mentioned, Texans are up by a touchdown at the 2-minute warning. The Jets do have the ball, but they're deep in their own territory. So let's see what happened on that previous play. A 52-yard field goal was no good.
So they got the ball at the 42.
No good. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And the Ravens, Justin Tucker just missed a 51-yard field goal. That's no good. So now the Rams get it back with a minute to play.
Bad football. This is a perfect example. Close game. Not a real exciting game.
13-13.
but it's close, so people will be like, "Oh, good football." No,
bad.
It was bad football. It was bad football.
And one of the late games has started. Chiefs at Chargers. This is a big game for the Chiefs if they want to keep pace in the AFC wildcard race. They've rebounded,
especially with Detroit or Denver getting another win today,
right?
Because it kind of Denver kind of stopped the bleeding there a little bit.
Yeah, Chiefs will have, or Denver will have a 4-game lead if the Chiefs would lose to the Chargers, because we saw the Raiders fall today.
Texans look like they just wrapped it up.
Yeah.
They must have picked it off or something.
They got the ball back against the Jets.
Yeah, and Jets have no timeouts, and it's under 2 minutes.
Now the Texans find themselves 5-5, which I believe is the same as Indianapolis.
On a positive note, maybe that means they'll win enough games that I think unfounded, because we didn't see more of it this week.
I just don't.
Yeah, we won't even go there. But
no way Bill O'Brien's leaving an NFL job to go to the University of Maryland.
I saw, and when I read into it, I saw basically even the article that I sent you. It said the owner of Under Armour, who is Maryland's Phil Knight, essentially, the Under Armour version of Phil Knight, he wants O'Brien.
O'Brien coached at the University of Maryland.
But the others, alumni and influential people there, don't, because they said they feel like O'Brien will come, do well for a year or two, and then leave. And they don't want that.
It's one thing if he was going to be fired in Houston. He's not leaving Houston for the Maryland job.
And that's another thing they said. There's rifts there with the GM in Houston.
Is that Rick Smith?
I think so. So, in terms, and we have seen that, O'Brien wanted to cut Mallett earlier when he overslept, and they said no, and then he wanted to cut him when he missed the plane, and I think they said no, but then they caved.
They finally caved. Yeah. All right, so
I got a text message. Eagles suck. Yes,
yes, they do. Thank you. And it was just a random number, right? They just texted whoever.
It was, you know who it was.
My dad.
No. As soon as I said you know who it was, that was.
I'm sure it was Greg or Pat.
Oh, no. Another common friend, though. But
we have more common friends? There's too many to keep track of. So the late games, Packers-Vikings, that's a big one in the NFC North. Vikings could take a 2-game lead over the Packers well into the second half of the season.
Have they played already?
No.
I didn't think so.
49ers-Seahawks, that's an interesting game. 49ers have basically ended the Kaepernick era, putting him on injured reserve. Seattle 4-5, not looking like the world beaters people thought they were going to be. Seattle needs this game bad if they want to have any shot of catching Tampa Bay in the NFC wildcard race. Cincinnati, Arizona is an interesting one. That's the NBC.
That is a big game.
That's the game tonight.
That's a big game.
The Bengals looked bad against Houston last week. Couldn't put up any points. They scored just 6.
And
2
now
field
I have
goals.
to go to Arizona and play an Arizona defense that's pretty good.
All of a sudden you're 8-0, and then you lose possibly 2 in a row, and all of a sudden you go from competing for the 1 spot to dropping all the way down to the 3rd possibly.
Yeah, I mean, because they're still up in their division.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, and the
Steelers are next.
The AFC South isn't gonna. They're gonna be the 4 seed. So
Bengals will be 3, guaranteed. But that's only gives you guaranteed 1 home.
Well, and all of a sudden, then you start getting these questions like, "Oh, here we go. It's getting late in the season." Bengals, I think, need this game more than the Cardinals, especially. Well, it depends on that outcome of the Seahawks game. If the Seahawks lose, the Cardinals, if they lose, they're still okay. But anyway, that's a really interesting one. And then tomorrow night, an interesting one. In that the Bills at times look really good, and then
at times they look awful.
Right.
However, I'm going to say this is going to be a negative for them because it's in New England, and I just don't see the Bills beating New England New England. Patriots will move to 10-0. I'm assuming matching Carolina's start. Then you have the Bengals possibly 9-1 or 8-2. Denver's now 8-2. The Vikings could be 8-2.
There are good teams, but there's a lot of bad teams. Like we mentioned before.
Honestly, right now it's looking like a rematch of the 2003 season Super Bowl. That's what I would.
Hopefully the Patriots don't cheat.
Patriots Panthers is what it looks. I mean, it's easy to say, the 2 teams that are probably going to be 10-0 after Week 11. Yeah, they're probably going to meet up in the Super Bowl. But really, the Patriots are clearly the best team in the AFC. I don't even think that's up for discussion.
Now, the important stuff about the Panthers. dancing when you score a touchdown. No, I'm just
totally
I'm kidding.
I'm ready to dive headfirst into this one. So that's where we're at in Week 11 NFL action. Again, like we said, not a lot of great football.
Our team's just tearing it up.
Our team's playing awful.
NFL.
Somehow the Ravens have the ball again. How is this? What is going on in Baltimore?
Bad football.
Fumble. There was a fumble.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Case Keenum got sacked, and it was recovered by Baltimore. So now the Ravens have the ball back, and they're at the St. Louis 29. Now they're within. Tucker should have hit the 51-yarder, I would think.
Yeah. He doesn't miss many 51
not enough big ones like that.
It is. I don't know what it's like in Baltimore. It was windy when I've been outside today. I don't know what it's like in Baltimore. That could be the case, but 51. Now we're like he should have made a 51. Now again, we talk about this all the time. The rest of the game plays out different. Eagles have had 2 games this year in which they missed very makeable field goals and lose by 1 or 2. Like it's just very Eagles-like.
Seems as though my father is just starting to tune in, or he's just texting me because of what happened today. But he has advice or gloating for both of us that with his Cowboys beating my Dolphins, I now owe him a Five Guys meal. That was our bet. And also saying, and I don't think he's wrong, and we mentioned this already, that Dallas is now back in the NFC East hunt at 3-7.
Yeah, Bill may have missed it. I said it.
Justin Tucker kicked the game-winning field goal 47 yarders.
Because it's going to be what I don't want to happen. Like, if I had to rank the things I don't want to happen in the NFC East the most, that's the thing that I don't want to happen. It will happen. It's Dallas is going to come back.
So we win 7 in a row, 9-7.
Here's what's going to happen. The Eagles are going to beat the Giants on the last week of the season when the Giants need to win. No, not for the Eagles. It'll matter for the Giants, and it'll keep the Giants out, and then Dallas will get in.
Here, we'll call it now.
Actually, if that's the case, then they definitely should fire Chip Kelly.
Cowboys lose Thursday to the Panthers.
Then they
win the next 6. Then they win the next 5 games, finish 8-8.
8-8 could get you in.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean. So
we'll see.
Yeah. So that's the NFL week action. Not a lot of interesting things happening. There's a couple really good teams, and then everyone else. Like, think about it. Like, how many times there's 10-0, maybe 9-1, a couple 8-2. Are there any 7-3? Like, I think your next closest is 6-4. I guess
there could be.
I guess the Vikings could be 7-3. But if the Vikings win, there's no 7-3. There's all of a sudden you have 6-4 to 4-6. Right. There's a ton of teams in that area.
And you would have every division being separated by at least 2 games, I think. Well, maybe not the East, but NFC East. But you'd have a lot of the divisions separated by AFC 2 or more games. Yeah. Well, you're right. The terrible divisions are still close.
The crappy divisions are close. So that's all that matters, really, in the long run.
Well, since that's where our rooting interests lie, I guess it is.
Okay, so our next show for this show, I think, will now be maybe the first weekend in December, possibly. Okay. No, you won't be around. Yeah, second weekend in December. Okay. So December 13th, I believe, will be the next. Because next week we're gonna wrap up the Bulldog Hour. We'll finish the first season of that. To wrap up the Wilson football season with episode 4. Then you'll be in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship game. And then the week after that is when we'll be back with episode 193.
So, yeah. So it'll be a little bit, but we'll have plenty to talk about.
Oh, definitely. By then we could have 3 or 4 teams locking up divisions.
Wonderful.
Oh, my. All right, so any shout-outs for you? I'll say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Greg, Amy.
Amy/Laura.
Amy, Laura, Amy. Laura, Amy.
Yeah.
And I know there were a ton of other people that I am acquainted with that ran in the Philadelphia Marathon or half marathon that the 3 of you did.
A lot of fun.
Didn't tear your Achilles, so that's good.
Yet, knock on wood. So
just be careful walking up the stairs as we leave.
The stairs are killers right now. I wore the medal because
it's an actual
bell. A bell. It's a bell. It's a Liberty Bell. I may wear it to school tomorrow because it's a bell, not because it's a medal, but because it's a bell.
They'll hear you coming.
Yeah, exactly. And just act like what like.
What's going on? What do you got a problem with that?
But so no, it was a good time. You know, last time when I finished, I was like, maybe I was like, I don't want to do that again. But then like immediately you start thinking I can do it again. Yeah. This time I'm like, why would I ever do that? One of the signs I have to mention the sign. I've seen it all over the internet actually, but I saw it when I was running and I laughed hysterically. About a half mile into the race, there was a sign that said, "Congratulations, you're more athletic than Sam Bradford." It's so true. I said I was, if I had a sign, I would have put one up. Obviously, you don't have signs as the runners, but you're all running better than Chip Kelly's offense.
Oh, nice. So, well, I think we'll say happy Thanksgiving since we won't be on next weekend. And
happy anniversary this week to my wife.
Oh, hey, yeah. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. So that.
Got to get that out there, too.
Yeah, on Wednesday.
So then the next show that we'll be back, like I said, it won't be until December 13th. I think I'll actually
even worse than November.
Make sure that I put Justin through all the Star Wars stuff he can handle on that show, because when we come back the next week, December 20th, we'll have seen the new movie.
We'll need to start with explaining to me how Spock fits into all of this.
Oh, I'm just going to ignore that because I know you're just trolling.
So hard.
And with that, I take back the good things I said about you. I wish you would have torn your Achilles, and I'm just going to leave you down here. I'm going to push you down the stairs.
Oh.
So, all right. Well, I think that's everything for us this week. That wraps up the 192nd episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
We hope you tune in every Sunday afternoon for our take on sports. Until next time, I'm J-Raff.
And I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Don't forget, you can download each episode of the show from the podcast section of the iTunes Store. We'll see you next time, and thanks again for listening.